on. And if you've been waiting, I apologize. We're down in the locker room. Fun day. Appreciate everyone coming out. Thought we had a good turnout. Rain held off, so that's always a positive. Before I talk about the scrimmage, just want to say how excited my family and I are about the recent contract extension. One of the two big draws to West Virginia, if you go back to January of 2019 for Brooke and I, were the opportunity to impact an entire state through the game that we're passionate about. And after being here for 2+ years, that has been so true. And we feel strongly connected to the people here. And the second thing was alignment. From the Board of Governors to Dr. Gee, down to Shane Lyons and Kelly Zinn, and all the way through the athletic department. And it stays true as well. And so excited. I really believe our program's on an upward trajectory. I like this team that we have right now. I think the staff here and our players, this is really, I think the extension is probably as much about them than me, just because our players have bought in. Our staff, I think our chemistry within our staff now and the type of people that we have is going to allow us to build what we want to do here, which is build a championship program that everyone can be proud of. And so just wanted to touch on that starting off. As far as the spring goes, through 15, next week will be about the evaluation from the totality of it. But today I thought there were some signs, and, I wanted to give those awards, publicly. We usually do those privately, but I thought at halftime it was a great opportunity to do it. And then you saw some of the reasons why some of those people got those awards. I think some of the people that really showed up and performed in this game type of atmosphere were the ones that have been really consistent throughout the spring. And so with that, I'll take questions.
Coach Brown, our first question comes from Greg Hunter.
So, Neal, what did you want to get out of the game? What do you think you got out of the game as you just sort of observed it from the sidelines or, midfield? Yeah,
so we wanted to have fun. We wanted our players to really enjoy the opportunity to compete in front of fans, whether they were here in the stadium, listening on the radio, or watching it on ESPN Plus. So we wanted to have fun. We wanted everybody that was watching to enjoy it as well. We want to continue to compete. And then the final thing is we want to play clean football. And I hope a defining characteristic of our program is we don't beat ourselves. And I think when you think about that is, what does that mean? Well, it means not having selfish penalties, reducing your procedural penalties, not having missed assignments, making sure you communicate well, and then most importantly, you take care of the ball offensively. And so we wanted to play relatively clean football. Thought we accomplished that. But that was the main focus areas.
Next question comes from Chuck Landon.
Neal, could you assess the play of Jared Dagey in Green today, please?
Yes. So I thought Jared was really solid. I was excited and scored. That's something it's been a point of emphasis. Not that he's ever going to be a guy that we call run plays for, but he's got to be able to pull the ball when the defense gives you a pull read, and he's got to be able to have, he's got to continue improving the pocket. I wanted to play everybody, and when you play in a thud atmosphere, it really makes it hard to run the football. So that's why we didn't run it as much with that group. But I thought he was solid. He threw a couple nice deep balls. In the one-on-one period, the ball he threw to Esdale was a perfect pass, and that's something that we really focused on the spring, was his ability to be more accurate on deep balls, and I feel much better about that after 15 practices. Garrett was anxious at the start, and that's kind of the way he's been on all these scrimmage type. He's been real anxious, and then he settled down. I thought he threw a great ball to Caden Prather. And I thought Will Crowder came in and did some nice things. He threw the touchdown to Neal Brown, and he's, with limited opportunities, he's done well this spring.
Brian Pritt.
Hey, Neal, kind of cool having Deuce there, obviously. I guess it was one of those things where he better not beat either of your quarterbacks in drills, I'm sure. But just talk about putting that together and how cool was that?
Well, I think these spring games, they become stale real quick. And so the thing that I think makes our game here unique and different is the connection with the Children's Hospital. And that's something that the football program, going back to Coach Nealon, has had a strong connection with WVU Children's. And that's one of the most disappointing things in this pandemic is we've really, outside of Zoom, have kind of not been able to have that connection. And I'm talking about players with the children in the hospital. And so we raise money for them. We try to do some things to honor them. And then for the fans coming, because I know that they come because they're interested in football, but I think they also want to support children's. And so what we want to do is try to make the game as entertaining as possible. We did some things like this at Troy. I'm a basketball fan. We've talked on here. Y'all have heard me talk about it a bunch. And had an event with Hugs last week and mentioned it to him. And he said as long as there's no gear involved, he's good. And so Deuce said, I just got to have a jersey with my name on it. So I said, well, we can work that out. Because every basketball game I watch, it seems like it's always mentioned that he played quarterback at Moeller. And so, and I figured the fans would enjoy it, and they did. He was a great sport about it.
Mike Casaza.
Hey, Neal, how's it going?
Good, Mike.
At the end of the spring here, not so much because of today, but maybe the full 15 practice schedule, the experiments or the projects that you had, whether it's players or position changes, do any stand out to you into the offseason in the summer?
Yeah, Keem Messidor playing more interior. He really became comfortable probably over the last 5 future in there. He can go back out and play on the edge as well, but he's handling the extra weight. And so that's one for sure. DeVell Washington at will linebacker continuing to come along. It's going to take some time there. I think that we played James Committer some at center, and I think he can be a guy that can play there for us if need be. We rotated a bunch of the linemen. Doug Nestor got reps at guard and tackle, so he gives us ability. Parker Moore did the same. We moved those secondary pieces around a bunch where they know multiple positions, and so I think spring ball is you have to be versatile. Tony Caridi and I were talking about this. We have 85 scholarships, but with the rules, it's impossible. You're never going to get there. So your depth is not going to be what it used to be. So I think guys got to have versatility. Your best players got to be versatile enough to be able to move around and play a couple different positions. Because if you get into an injury situation where backup has to come in and play, the backup needs to play the position that they're most comfortable with. And the more skilled player can play, multiple positions. So that's what we're trying to do. And I'm pleased with what we got done as far as that goes.
Kevin Kinder.
Coach, a little bit more on Grayson Malashevitz winning the Nikolic Award. What went into your all selection of him? I know you talked a little bit about him last week, and I think he might be the first player that got both an Iron Mountaineer and the Nikolic Award in the same year. Does that kind of speak to some of the things that he's shown for you?
Kevin, I think exactly. Love the kid, love everything about one of the hardest working players on our team, one of the most respected guys on our team. He's going to work himself into a role without a doubt. And I think he's very deserving of both awards. I'm excited for him. As a coach, you always want to see hard work rewarded, and that's being recognized for these type of awards or having success on the field. I think it's going to be both for Grayson.
Keenan Cummings.
Neal, what are you most satisfied with, coming out of the spring? Maybe that was a question mark, and then what still is going to be a big question mark heading into the summer and fall?
Keenan, are coaches allowed to be satisfied? I'm you know, I don't really know Keenan as far as satisfied. The honest answer would be I'm not probably satisfied with anything. You know what I mean? Like that's probably the real answer. One of the things that going into the spring is I wanted to challenge some of our best players to continue to use spring ball to get better and improve. And when I say that, I'm talking about a Neal Brown, you know, who didn't get tackled one time this spring. But I wanted him to get better. And I thought he did that. Like he has become such a better pass receiver. He's so much better in pass protection. He was one of our leading point getters in our special teams competitions. You know, Josh Chandler, learning both the Mike and Will positions and really taking the next step from a linebacker and be able to be ready to step into those shoes that Tony Fields left. And so I think that is probably as much is from a leadership perspective. You know, some of those guys really came and bought into using these practices to improve. So probably that is what I'm satisfied the most about. You know, as far as things, we've got to continue. You know, we're a work in progress. You know, we've got to continue. We've got to punt the ball better. I think that's something that for sure that we've got to do. We've got to continue to work up front. We're a lot better than we have been at any point during our tenure here, but we're not where we need to be either. So we got to continue to get better up front. I think defensively we got to develop some depth in the secondary. I think that's the issue right there.
Greg Hunter.
So, Neal, you talk about your offensive front. How much do you identify maybe your top 5 or top 7 coming out of the spring? And well, you may not tell us. Do you think you have what you want there?
Greg, you asked about offensive line. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think what we have is right now we've got 6 guys that have probably separated themselves a little bit from the rest of them. You know, I think we've got 2, maybe 3 more that as they progress through the summer can compete. And then we've got a freshman in that we have high expectations for to come in and be competitive to get in that top tier as well.
Alex Hickey.
Neal,
Alex, man, good to hear from you.
Good to be back for a minute. The final play there, did you have that in your back pocket as your tiebreaker, the big man one-on-ones? And would you like to see that as the new triple overtime?
I gotta get my man Drummond to. He wants to run too many double moves. He just needs to go vertical in one-on-ones. So Noah Drummond may be like he may be the most popular guy we have, and he's got this group of buddies that constantly reach out to me on social media, which I appreciate, and getting Drummond reps, and then Dante Bonamico, who they're roommates. Well, Bonamico, he's grown up now, he's got a job, but they used to be roommates and they're best friends, and so we did that earlier in the spring, and Drummond let it go off his fingertips. Bonamico said, we got to give him another try. And so I told the team, if we're in a tie, this is how we're breaking it. It's on Drummond. And so we always start, what I told the fans, I don't know if y'all can hear up there, but we always start practice, and y'all seen this, y'all been enough practice to know now, is we always start with some kind of competition. And it's usually football oriented, but there's some times when you need to lighten the mood. And so the big man deal is fun. We did it the other day with specialists. They did one-on-one. We do a coach's challenge. Coach Moore and Coach Jackson caught punts the other day. And so just try to add a little fun into it. And like I said, you saw how the reaction was. The guys love it.
Mike Kazaza. Okay.
Hey, Neal, I have 2 for you. One's on a player and one's kind of on this the new rules thing. If I can get to the rules thing first, with the practices being limited and kind of reshaping camp, have you started thinking about that? And I'm sorry if I went too fast forward there.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Ask your second question here in a second. Let me answer that one because I'm sometimes I get slow. I'll forget the second one. So I think I think you'll hear coaches talk about this. The new rules, and I just looked at them in depth this morning, so I'm glad I did now that you asked a question about it, is I don't know if it's going to be that much different than what most programs are already doing. All right. And what I mean by that is, like, I don't know a single college football program that you had 25 practices and you could go full pads in 21 of them if you wanted to. I don't know anybody that was doing that. I don't know anybody that was doing more than 2 full scrimmages as it was anyway. The biggest difference, Mike, that I can see is there is the 9 helmet practices.
Right.
Okay. Which the helmet practices as a coach are more concerning to me than shells or full pads, because when you're practicing, you've got these big athletes that are strong and they're fast, and on the rare occasion somebody's on the ground, you have nothing to protect yourself. All right. So what I was really pleased about is the rules, or the oversight committee that Shane leads, they're going to allow you in those helmet practices to wear what's called spider pads, which is really just a foam that you wear that's real light, but it covers up your shoulders. So if you're doing a 1-on-1 rep or doing a 7-on-7 rep, and for some reason somebody's on the ground, at least they've got these little spider pads that'll protect that shoulder joint where you won't have a shoulder injury. But I don't think, and this isn't me saying this. I'm on the AFCA board now, American Football Coach Association board, and when we had our meeting a couple of months ago and were introduced and started this discussion about once the new concussion study came out, what I got from our group, from our board, was that it's not going to change a whole lot. I know it's not going to change what we do a whole lot. In the sense I got from other coaches on there, it's not going to change what they had already been doing. All right. And so I hope that answered that. And second question.
Yeah, perfect. Daryl Porter had a really good camp last year, and then just the season came along and wasn't there. And then heard more Jackie Matthews than him, but saw a lot of Porter today and was on the ball and around stuff too. How did he do in the spring? And can one day significantly change maybe like what happened, or can it exaggerate what happened in the first 14 days?
Well, I think when you, like, what we talk about is these scrimmage opportunities are game-like, and we try to only go in the stadium for like special opportunities, you know what I mean? So we try to make a big deal when we go in the stadium and line up and play. And so I think if you shine in those stadium scrimmage opportunities, those, in my mind, from an evaluation standpoint, do count more than just your regular practice that we do up on the practice field. So that, to answer that question, is, yeah, I think they do. I think they do hold more value. And Daryl, what happened with DP in fall camp? He had a really good fall camp. We did split practice. He wasn't performing as well, and then he got tired. You know, his body really got tired because he's a true freshman. You know, and we didn't have the normal lead in, you know, from a summer workout perspective, like he would have if in a normal situation. But he's a guy that we need him to come on. You know, you sit there and as coaches, there's some guys that you think, hey, we got to get him to come on. He played better toward the end of the spring than he did at the beginning. I thought he had a great day. I thought the pick he had over Sam Brown in the end zone, I thought that was a special play. I thought he had 2 other pass breakups that I thought were big time plays.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. Thank you all. Are you okay?